Do you think American companies should be concerned about using Chinese models?
I do believe we are in these crucified moments that across the industry, we should encourage more open intelligence. We truly believe in open development, open intelligence.
I think of Fireworks as a company that does a really good job running open source models.
We process more than 40 trillion tokens a day. It's bigger than OpenAI's API and Gemini's API. We do not believe the world will be dominated by a few models from frontier labs. If you think about before AI, data is one of the biggest innovation. There's so many open source projects about data. And I believe that's kind of the fundamental reason the data field is able to move so fast across the whole entire industry. To me, it kind of doesn't make sense. Intelligence is in the hands of a duopoly.
Do you think OpenAI should just open source and Anthropic should open source their models?
I would really think.
You're listening to Gradient Descent, a show about making machine learning work in the real world. And I'm your host, Lukas Biewald. All right, I'm here talking with Lin Qiao, an old friend of mine. I've always admired her as an entrepreneur. I've always wanted to get her on the podcast. I finally got her today. I get to ask her questions around the technical aspects of how her product works, what motivates her as a founder, and how she got started in the space. I hope you enjoyed this episode. So thanks for joining us. I've been wanting to actually have you on this podcast for years, back to when you were a big part of the PyTorch team and working on that. And we never quite made it happen. So one thing I was really surprised by researching you is you have a college-age daughter, which made me realize that you're older than I thought, I think. And
Yes.
So you kind of came to being a founder a little later than a lot of people, or at least the Silicon Valley ideal. Did you always want to be a founder and now you're doing your dream, or how did that happen?
I talk with people who are college dropout who are founders. So I'm more than their age, twice of their age. So first of all, I think there's no good timing. Only you know when's a good timing. And that's just a gut feeling. I think to me, about 10 years ago, it started to come to me. I want to be a founder. I want to found a technology company, and I actually started doing that. I started to kind of contemplate because 2015 is the year I've done everything across data. Starting from being a researcher, build a first generation in-memory super fast data warehouse to build many data product from offline to online data tools. And I think, hey, I know everything in that space. And there are many companies during that time, so I want to start one. But I don't feel I'm ready from people point of view. Because I know kind of building a company is all about people at the end. So all about kind of organizing experts across different fronts to be able to build that up. I don't think I have that skill. And that's part of the reason that's the main reason I joined Facebook.
Oh, really?
To kind of learn what is kind of, at that time it's post-IPO, but they are kind of one of the fastest growing star in Silicon Valley. My main motivation is to learn what this culture look like, why this company is so unique, what is so unique about their people. And I'm just so curious to kind of figure that out.
What did you take from that?
So believe it or not, when I moved to Facebook from LinkedIn, right? LinkedIn is another social network, a professional social network, and Facebook is kind of commercial, like consumer social network. At the beginning, I know this company is outstanding, but on the other hand, I'm like, I probably have seen law, so it probably will not be that different, but I need to learn what I need to learn. And I was shocked when I joined the company. What is really surprised me is what I carry on to Fireworks is the extreme sense of ownership. Because in the other company, I don't feel that. I feel like in other company, there's always, hey, you're an employee, here's your box, you do your job, you'll be evaluated. That's kind of how things work. And when I joined Facebook first, it's just everyone cares so deeply about company, they do whatever it takes. You can change any code. It doesn't matter whether you write it's your code or not. If you find there's a bug, fix it. No problem is out of the people's problem, from small things. hey, the dashboard in the reception where every visitor see is broken, go report it, fix it. So it almost feel like this is my family. This is my company. Although I have tiny ownership of the company, it doesn't matter. But I do feel that way. Everyone feels that way. And it's magical. It's magical, like just bring like extreme, like everything best out of a person to build for the company. So I think that's the secret source. That's the kind of the magic power. And at Fireworks, we strongly reward extreme ownership, and those people carry the sense of extreme ownership. They rise up. They rise up without you asking them to do anything, and they just kind of by themselves figure things out.
So what was your core motivation for starting a company? Like you've talked about how it's okay. It seems like you're okay with the competition being successful. Like it's maybe not to beat the competition. What made you want to start Fireworks?
I think it's the same with my other co-founders. We are very gravitate towards impact. We're almost like impact machine. And before we start, it's kind of a little bit rooted in our journey in PyTorch. Obviously, PyTorch has a lot of great people moving it forward, including Sumit, Joe Spisak. They're all kind of great people I worked with. And because of PyTorch, we work a lot with open source community, with other companies. It become very clear to us the whole entire industry is moving from mobile first, a lot of data being generated, AI first. And we actually move back 5 years, we hit the same problem at Meta. Mobile first, a lot of data generated, AI first. And at that time, there was no AI hardware. Everything is CPU based, tiny machine learning algorithms, linear regression. There was no AI software, very rudimentary. Deep learning just got started. There was no AI team, and at that time, it's around 2017. We all joined during similar range of time. Built AI infrastructure from ground up and built PyTorch individual community. And then 5 years later, the industry is hitting the same problem, and that makes it clear there's a whole entire industry movement towards AI, and they hit the same problem as we started this journey at Facebook, and we know how to help them. And as a matter of fact, they keep coming to PyTorch team saying, can you build a training platform for us? Can you build a serving platform for us? Can you tell us how to even build this AI team? And it's just kind of, there's a lot of desire, for clear demand for industry to have industry-wide impact. That's the reason we want to start a company, just kind of help much bigger movement. With regard to competition, I don't view those as competition. I feel like if there are a community build great open source project, it's not our game to compete with them. I want to see them doing well. And again, goes back, every single company should have a reason for them to exist. Then our unique value is not in that space. Our unique value is to kind of in other layers that we add, where kind of we find our kind of position and anchor on specialized intelligence, as we believe that's kind of the biggest area we can move the industry and deliver impact. So that's kind of how we think about it.
I think I saw recently you raised it like a $15 billion valuation. Is that right?
Yeah, we just finished raising Series D, 1.5 billion cash, and 17.5 billion valuation,
Wow,
post-money valuation.
17.5. Congratulations. Do you want to brag a little bit about your metrics or your success at Fireworks?
So if anything, like I haven't done very well is to talk about who we are, what we do. We're being kind of really just want to be the engineer building product. But yes, I would love to talk about Fireworks. So we build a specialized intelligence platform. So specialized intelligence is a parallel strategy to general intelligence, and this is a lot of discussion actually happening across the industry, and we're very happy to kind of participate in that debate, but also kind of really charge forward to build the best tool in the specialized intelligence category. So the idea here is there are two strategies to intelligence, right? So one is building intelligence that can solve all problems as a black box API. This is a typical frontier labs building AGI, very familiar. Everyone's kind of understand that direction. But we believe intelligence is the derivative of data. That's our fundamental assumption. But if we look at the world's data, you actually live in the data world, right? So kind of all the when weights and biases started, you see a lot of data about training first and then flowing to the rest of AI. So there are, if we look at the world's data distribution, only a small fraction of data is public internet. That is the primary source, plus the label data. Those are the primary source for frontier labs to train from scratch. Majority of the data is actually locked inside application, locked inside enterprise. And in my opinion, these data should never be shared with anyone else because those are the alpha of those companies. There's a much deeper thinking behind that. And we believe the new frontier of intelligence should be specialized intelligence, as in turn those private data into a customized model that is uniquely owned by the company, design their product in a unique way. And also this process shouldn't be one time. It should be continuous because we all know application keeps evolving. Product engineer makes the application constantly better. Base model keeps improving. Before, like we can say every month there's a new base model popping up. And now every few days, there's a new model. It's just a velocity insane, popping up in top leaderboard in a really good like forward-looking way. So then your customization specialization process should be continuous, as in you should be doing that every week, or possibly every day or every few hours. We do have customer have different cadence, and then we take a big step back. We believe the specialized intelligence and generalized intelligence, these two strategies will coexist in the future. They will have their own usage and so on. But we do not believe the world will be dominated by a few models from frontier labs. The world will not be a duopoly. The world will be millions of specialized model, one per application per use case. That's what kind of we're seeing the world view, and we're building our platform towards like, hey, giving the control of IP and giving control of cost to every single company, because those companies exist for a reason.
Mm-hmm. That's interesting. I think of Fireworks as a company that does a really good job running open source models, but specialized intelligence is a little bit of a different way of looking at it. Are most of your customers actually modifying the open source models before they run them?
That's a really good question. So today we process more than 40 trillion tokens a day. So this is actually a fun fact. It's bigger, based on what we know, it's bigger than OpenAI's API and Gemini's API. But more interestingly, 95% of that traffic is from customized model and customized inference deployment. It's
Wow.
not off the shelf. So from what we see with our customer engagement and the demand coming to us, we're just at the beginning of this S-curve.
Mm-hmm. So you're claiming that you think that you ingest more tokens than OpenAI's API.
We process. So by process, it means really the prompt and generation combined.
I see. So more input tokens and output tokens in total than
Yes.
OpenAI's API or Gemini's API.
Yeah. So actually, we don't know how each company accounting for this number. I mean, they may have their own philosophy, but just by numbers,
I see.
that's what I'm seeing.
Wow. And what are the biggest use cases?
So that's also evolving. Last year, it's all coding, and we have all the coding company built on top of us. And because of coding, it actually unlocked the next wave. Because of the coding advancement, I think one thing is changed significantly in the past 1 year is software development and application development. The velocity is insane. And before, it would take tens of very strong product engineers and PMs from ideation to implementation to production scale over multiple quarters. Even multiple quarters may be fast. And now one person, a few weeks, knowing nothing about writing code, can do that. And because of the velocity, then we start to see, I think it's a dependency here, a sequence here. We start to see a vibrant usage, especially in the co-work space. And we have many applications they are solving general purpose co-work problems. For example, professional deep research or slide generation, or kind of the tools we use day-to-day general. And then we are also seeing development of a wide, diversified, vertical specific co-works across legal, finance, recruiting, marketing, sales, customer support. Even within each bucket, there are like fine granular product being built. So that's what we see this year. And in addition, we're seeing the consumer-facing market start to think about how to use the logical reasoning capability for LLMs to change how we do search, how we do recommendation, and many things. So could be possibly next year is the consumer-facing unblock year for Gen AI. So that's where we see the trend is, but nonetheless, one thing that is clear is just the variety of creativity, innovation built on top of Gen AI, bring from experimentation to production is exploding right now.
And I mean, OpenAI had a fine-tuning API in various iterations, but I don't think it was very popular. Why do you think RL and fine-tuning is more popular in open source models?
I think fundamentally, the general intelligence company, if you think about the unit of economics, right, it doesn't align to support a fine-tuning product. The fundamental reason is training from scratch is very expensive. It's massive R&D investment. And the end result of this model companies would want to create monetization and scale as fast as possible. The way to scale as fast as possible is just package that in as API. And the underlying infrastructure will be most efficient if it's just a few models, right? If it supports millions of models, it's completely different unit of economics, and that's massive. Almost like it's a completely different business. I think it kind of makes sense for the frontier labs to focus on scaling the model as is and go like really fast and wide. And creating a separate business is a strategic change and pivot. So I think that's a fundamental reason. It's not like having a fine-tuning service doesn't have markets. Kind of focus of a company is it doesn't align.
I've been a little surprised, honestly, over the last few years that fine-tuning with RL hasn't been more popular. It does seem like it can be fiddly to get it right, and you kind of need the data in a good format, or you need to create a simulation environment, which can be an expensive process. Do you help your customers with that?
We have different level of engagement, and the interesting thing is our customer has wide diversity right now in terms of a product is only built for the needs of the customer, right? Rather than the needs as here's a spectrum. We have customer, they are very deep. They have researchers. They have researchers from frontier labs, and they want to control every single knob. For example, we work with Cursor. They build their composer models on our training stack, especially focus on RL, and where they want to control every possible parameter to tune, and we help them like connect with their trainer, and we manage our rollout inference. So that's one level of engagement is very extremely low level. give you all the controls as you want. There is a different tier where I think it's bigger in terms of number of developers who can use this. They have AI experience, but they haven't been the expert in training a model, and they are learning that specialty, and they want to control something, but not everything because that's overwhelming. So then we build the next level API. We have a Fireworks training SDK that geared towards they can plug in a loss function. They can tweak which algorithm they want to use, and a few other parameters, and then they can kind of start to do their experiments.
Can you talk a little bit about how that would work for like a real world use case where it would work super well?
So we have been working with cross startups, digital natives, and even, to my surprise, even enterprises. So the training SDK is actually self-serve. So we just they can just code against the SDK, and that SDK is going to talk with our backend API. We have two modes. We have serverless, where they don't even know how many GPUs is required, and the kick off the training job. And then we have telemetry for them to see how things are going. And
I mean, could
then
you give like a specific example?
of a use case,
A use
or
case. Yeah, like a specific customer even maybe, if you can talk about it.
yeah. So for example, I think we have in the healthcare space, we have Doximity. They are building basically building deep research for doctors, and they're tuning their model. In medical term, it's almost like different language, and that is not. So usually the tuning is a pattern is it's a special DSL. Whether it's medical or whether it's some kind of special programming language for spreadsheet manipulation, for data processing. So then that logical reasoning is being baked into the base model, but that languages they're not familiar with.
But let's talk. So, what is Doximity showing your SDK to fine tune the model?
Showing meaning?
Like, how is it teaching the model what it wants?
Oh, so they have actually a team of researchers. They are using a combination of, so we have SFT, DPO, KTO, RL. We have different flavors of RL. It's actually up to them to pick and choose. And oftentimes you need to use a combined algorithm. And so, usually you SFT. So it's very similar to kind of the Frontier Labs training process without pre-training, right? So usually SFT is like mid-training to infuse the knowledge, and you are
Maybe like taking a step back, again, for people that maybe aren't quite as familiar with all these acronyms, like, so reinforcement learning is another way now in this context to fine tune a model. Like in the past, you would show fine tuning would mean you need to show the model exactly, what you want each time and modify it. How is RL different?
Yes, RL is very different in the sense that, like just compare SFT with RL. SFT is basically you tell the ground truth to the model and let the model pick up the ground truth. So RL, so basically it's like, hey, here's the textbook, you memorize all the textbook, right? So that's kind of SFT. RL is you try different variation of the model, and then let the model interact with your product or your simulation, and then get the result back, and then you rate that result, saying it's good or it's actually not good, or there's a range of between 0 to 1, some kind of reward. It's called reward. And then based on reward, the model will know, this direction, this exploration is not that good, so I'm going to backtrack. I'm going to do some other exploration until the reward shows up. It's pretty good, then okay, that probably is a good result.
But that rating is tricky, right? Like, how does Doximity do the rating of the quality of the results?
So that's where a lot of deep product experience. So this is a very interesting that we see a new emerging I wouldn't say it's a job profile, or it's just kind of the type of people doing in the past, pre-Gen AI. We have product engineers, right, focus on product. We have researchers focus on building model, and they talk with each other to figure it out. And now we see product people who tune model has product knowledge, and they know how to tweak things. And they either researchers learn to like build product, or product people learn how to tune models, because the judgment, there are a lot of judgment in, hey, what should the reward look like? And would this be a good search result for a doctor searching this medicine? Is a judgment. It's a part of judgment. It almost requires domain-specific knowledge.
So are you saying they're using people to actually look at the results and say if they're good or not, or they're using people to build algorithms to automatically decide if the results
I
are
think
good
there's
or not?
always a so before anyone do anything, the company need to build their own eval, right? Is the same as if you write software, you need to write unit tests and integration tests to judge how good is the software. It all starts from there. And then once you have that, and that's your ground truth to hill climb. And with the eval, then you start to understand, oh, now I'm gonna write how reward look like, which is different from eval. And this is basically like it's exactly how similar to how we human grow. And as we're born, we come with our the IQ is stay the same. So this is a base model, right? And then we learn by going to school, by memorize, that's SFT, supervised fine tuning, and we learn by trying things, because deep down, I think human, like Homo sapiens, that's my opinion, is defined by our curiosity, desire to explore and try new things. And we try new things, we get positive feedback, we'll try more. We get negative feedback, we'll try less. So this is exactly how model learn. And the feedbacks come from the product, because product could, if you get the feedback from product directly, then you have signal from product. Or from simulation, where the simulation will also provide feedback. So then the product engineer, product/researcher, that person is going to codify what that product feedback should be based on the text generated, and then close the loop.
I mean, I guess in the past, and I was a big part of this at Crowdflower, you'd label lots of examples of exactly what you wanted. And that was expensive, but at least it was very clear, what you're doing with SFT or supervised fine tuning. But now, where you actually don't know exactly what you want it to do, you're just looking at results and trying to say if they're good or bad. I feel like there's a much more complicated problem here, right? Like, I mean, famously, the labs pay tons of people to go in and just, RLHF, right? Like, you have humans just grade over and over. But I think you're talking about using product signals. I think we also see RLAIF, right? Where the AI looks at the results themselves. I mean, you're seeing all these companies that are building their own evaluation functions or reward functions. What are the trends here? Like, what's the best practice? And can this really scale to all the different applications that there are out there?
Yeah. So our thinking is it can. So there are multiple fundamental reasons it can and it should. One is so this kind of articulation came from my conversation with Jensen after his GTC keynote. We were shooting a video together. And shooting a video with Jensen is kind of very casual. It's kind of, he just start talking and then we just talk, and then done. So, but he casually mentioned one thing. We talk about specialized intelligence. He casually said one sentence: "There's no specialized general company," and it's logical, but actually, when I reflect back, it's very profound.
Sorry, there's no specialized general company?
There's no specialized general company.
What does that mean?
So that means every company is special. They are solving a special problem using a special solution with a special purpose. And that's why we have millions of companies, or maybe tens of million companies in the world. And we carry a unique design of the solution space for the problem we care about, and that's why companies exist. And because of that, the knowledge or the choice or the taste or the judgment to create these companies are not unified, are not common, are not even commonly shared. Hey, this is standard. And because of that, it's really hard to be captured by a general purpose model. And because of that, we believe every company should own their intelligence because they are the expert, carrying that taste, that judgment, that unique thinking, and that should be codified into the intelligence they own, and have that intelligence further power their product, make their product even better, and then start to create this flying wheel.
But I guess there's multiple ways to do it, right? I mean, one way to do it is to actually modify the weights of the model itself. I think that sounds powerful, but it also seems potentially difficult and complicated, right? There's also, the context window where you could insert something, or just using the model in different ways. Like, it's not the only way to modify the weights. Like, why do you feel like modifying the weights is going to be the way that companies inject their knowledge into, or inject their special sauce into these models?
Yeah, there are actually many different ways to define, to create frontier. Prompt engineering, context engineering is one way, and many companies has already been doing that, and only they know how to kind of the best construct the context and so on. And activate their private data to constantly tune their model and not giving alpha out is another way. And having a dissemination of routing logic to route the task towards the best model in terms of quality and cost, and have this network of underlying model supply is another way. So there are many different ways to push frontier in a setup. I think they should use it all. I don't think tuning the model, having the weights is the only way. But I would say having the weights is essential for other reasons. The reasons it goes back to application and software development has been disrupted. So the moat before be able to implement and push kind of production scale of an idea is a moat because it's hard. It requires, there's a deep barrier to get it right. Now that barrier becomes very thin, and then what is a moat for application company? And the moat is something that cannot be copied, replicated, and the data collected from your product about customer intent, customer preferences, why they engage, why not engage, and business logic, those are proprietary. And it will be, you just leave this is your alpha, and you leave your alpha on the table if this is not integrated into the model you use to power your product. So I will argue this probably is by and large the biggest moat every company should create, to turn your data to, and your data is a reflection of your proprietary taste and judgment, and the reason why you exist as a company, turn that into your own model, which is your own intelligence, and do not let that proprietary knowledge leave your premise. So that's kind of the bigger macro. The second big macro is unit economics. So that's very interesting. We all started working on AI pre-Gen AI. That's still SaaS time, right? And during SaaS time, when the product market fit and the durable business, they're almost the same thing. It's really, really hard to find a product market fit. But if you find it, just scale as fast as you can, run. Because the costs of running a business are mostly dominated by people, infrastructure costs, which is mostly CPU and storage. Those are commodity. Those usually people don't care about. Like those were not kind of cost problems. But now in the Gen AI time, product market fit and a durable business are two separate concepts. Hit a product market fit doesn't mean you will automatically have a durable business because operate AI infrastructure or intelligence is expensive. And then the unit economics completely changed. We have so many startups, they they have great product. Their customer love them, and also want to pay them, but they just cannot scale the business because they are scaling to bankruptcy. And scaling to bankruptcy is a norm now. You really need to kind of think about how to even build a cash flow and have a positive gross margin, and then it's kind of durable. It's even worse for large public companies. The digital native, for example, they were startups a decade ago, and they're the winner, right? They win their market, they win some consumer market, some prison market, some developer market. And the consequence of winning is they have huge amount of traffic. They already have a huge customer base. And for them to roll out a AI feature, cover everyone, the cost is enormous. And then they need to answer to Wall Street, have their quarterly earning report, and explain, hey, why you suddenly kind of spend so much on a feature that ROI is TBD. So cost control is a really, really big concern. On top of that, obviously, because of the popularity of coding agent, almost every company has a coding harness, and they are all worry about, hey, the cost of how we justify spend so much in coding, and now the industry is shifting from token maxing, I think beginning of this year, into value maxing. We seriously need to talk about the ROI, the R part of the ROI. So cost control is another big concern. That's where really picking the right model for you to activate private data and private knowledge and make the model quality on par or even better than the black box API, and then bring the cost down by 5 to 10x. It's extremely meaningful to build a durable business. So that's another reason.
How much cheaper is it to run your own model versus, I mean, like the frontier labs are also constantly dropping their token prices at the same time that people use more and more of it. Like, what's the delta today?
Yeah. So here, when we talk about pricing, it's actually not per token pricing, because the different model, their verbosity is different. Open model tend to be a little bit more verbose. So even though, like, if you look at the pricing, right, so everything's public, usually they're 10 times cheaper. But usually they're 1.5 to 2x more verbose. So then the cost saving is around 5 to 6x. So per task to solve the same problem, usually those are kind of the relative scale we've seen.
What about quality right now? I mean, how do you view the quality trade-off between the best of the open source models and the frontier labs?
So I think across the board, open and closed model quality has passed a threshold of solving a lot of day-to-day problems. And interestingly, a lot of the tasks we work on, especially professionals, can be interpreted as a coding problem. And the coding is kind of, by and large, kind of solved the problem. So then it makes a lot of our kind of professional task very friendly to be tackled by, addressed by those models.
What do you
Open
mean,
closed.
sorry?
So again, goes back to most of the coding, like all these model providers, close open, they really care about coding because coding is the foundation of solving the next level problems. And then across the board, there are many like co-work problems. For example, I think our company is a reflection of the industries. Within a company, every company has finance department. So our finance team use both open and closed models heavily to do finance forecasting, manage our books.
So you actually use closed models inside of
We
Fireworks?
do. We use both, right? So again, as I mentioned, another new frontier is how to blend those models intelligently.
So I guess you would be a huge proponent of open models, right? So what's the cases where you use closed models?
So again, as I said, I think specialized intelligence and the general intelligence, they will coexist. They will coexist as in during the different phase of development. In early phase of development, you don't want to think about which model to pick. Just pick, and you also don't care about cost. none of other later stage concern, production scale concern kicks in. And then just for simplicity, want to pick one, and you can pick the kind of most expensive one. Just kind of see if it's even viable. Is there even a viable solution, right? So that's kind of, and as the development goes into, hey, it's validated, it's a viable solution, and you now want to kind of really scale, and then you want to kind of start to optimize. So that's one possibility. The other possibility is different model actually slightly geared towards solving different problems better. I think even across kind of closed models, obviously Anthropic is the best tackling coding agentic and really focus on instruction following. And before OpenAI has been focusing on interaction based and deep research, and now they're also focused on coding. And Gemini used to focus on multimodality really heavily. So now they're also focused on coding. So coding becomes a common denominator, but still different labs have their like special secret sauce and special focus. And even from there, that just decide your starting point may be different. And same for open models, right? For example, like GLM just doesn't have vision component. And Quinn has been very good at vision from the beginning. And Kimi recently, they are combining, right? So so I think based on the task, we have we will give our customer the guidance, which could be a best starting point to kick off your job.
Do you think there's a security issue here as well with the open source models versus the closed models?
This is a very deep topic. I think it's a lot of debate now happening on Twitter and across industry about security. So here's the controversy. Security always have two sides, the attack and defend. So if we, the challenge of security is if it's asymmetry. If the attack has better tool and defense side, then it's really bad. If the defend has better tool than attack side, that's really good. But usually it will kind of get to the equivalent that they are on par. That I think that's kind of a healthy situation. So I'm not saying kind of we should encourage attacker to have better tools, but they will find all the ways to kind of acquire that. So because of that nature, I feel like open model is a way to strike that balance. And the other benefit of open model is it encourage a broader community to continue to build on that, to increase the defend like complexity, because the model can be post-trained. So recently, Hugging Face, our friends, Clam, they work with OpenAI to resolve that incident. They kind of pretty well establishes they couldn't get OpenAI's model and Fable to be able to work because it detect, this is a possible cybersecurity breach, and refuse to find solution, and they have to kind of activate GLM52 to find the solution quickly and contain the problem. So that's really about accessibility and the defense.
I'm not sure I heard that part of the story. So didn't I thought what happened with Hugging Face was OpenAI had a model that in an eval stage actually kind of hacked Hugging Face.
Yes.
Is that right?
My understanding is it was using it was testing export gem, which is cybersecurity attack benchmark, and that just starting to go wild.
But then the models also refused to fix the cybersecurity issue?
That's my understanding.
Interesting. What about China? I mean, it's kind of interesting that all the open source models that are the best ones seem to be coming out of China. Do you think American companies should be concerned about using Chinese models?
So I think we should differentiate the geopolitical debate from open model versus like closed ecosystem. Based on like I've been working on PyTorch for a long time. You also in that ecosystem, right? So I think we truly believe in open. We truly believe in open development, open intelligence. Because we have seen so many good things. No, even before PyTorch, I've been working on many open source projects all the way from, if you think about before AI, data is the one of the biggest innovation. There's so many open source projects about data. And I believe that's kind of the fundamental reason the data field is able to move so fast across the whole entire industry. From there, it derive a huge variety about different kind of data processing, and that power all sorts of kind of part of our economy, all the way from data analytics as a new field, to be able to kind of, for all the business metrics, be able to kind of standardize the process and make data-driven decision, to online ranking recommendations that's everywhere in our digital life. That is significantly powered by a new now it's not new, everyone's using that, but product analytics is a new practice to do to build product. To self-driving cars is huge amount of data from perception. So all this data innovation heavily depends on all the open source project to do all sorts of kind of interesting data processing. And fast forward to now, I do believe we are in these crucified moments that across the industry, we should encourage more open intelligence. And to me, it is it kind of doesn't make sense. Intelligence is in the hands of a duopoly or in the hands of a few people. I have never seen a community evolve in a balanced way, especially we're talking about security, cybersecurity, in a balanced way, in the best way, if it's only small number of people has control over intelligence.
Why do you think we have this dynamic where Chinese companies are mostly releasing open source models and American companies are mostly closed source?
I would really think there's no reason American companies shouldn't open source. American companies shouldn't open source the best models. I couldn't find a reason. I think we should.
Interesting. So you think OpenAI should just open source and Anthropic should open source their models?
I was strongly call for OpenAI had done that before.
Totally.
And last year was a high moment for the community. Wow, here's kind of a strong open model coming out. And I would hope they continue to do that. Especially, they are the leaders in the market, and they should set example for the whole entire industry.
Well, I think what they would say though is like, hey, we spent all this money in R&D. We need to recoup that money by running the model. Do you have some alternate monetization plan for them, or do you sort of feel like this is like the moral thing to do, or what do you mean by saying they should open source their models?
I think whether they open source or not, I think they need to have a reason to do that, and it should, hopefully connect with their monetization path. But at the same time, there are many other American companies we work closely with. They're deeply passionate about open source, the next generation, like really push the US open source quality to the next level. We work with Microsoft, MAI, we work with NVIDIA, Nemotron. Hopefully Reflection will have something come up soon, and Thinking Machine just launched their model. So I think we're just at the beginning. Again, based on
It still feels though, honestly, like the best open source models are coming out of China, and the most like kind of interesting innovation. And maybe you could add Mistral to the list, but sort of outside of America, seems like the models that are really in use are generally not American, right?
Right. So I think it's probably the strategy. I think in the past, our primary strategy for US companies are focusing on whether those are model frontier labs or hyperscalers. They are mostly focused on kind of pushing the closed model because, again, it is fastest to scale one model in terms of business, right? So if you think of business efficiency, that is the fastest. But then it has a limit because you cannot get into the special part of your business, right? If you're a general purpose solving the common task kind of model. And that's where we believe the next phase of frontier is to get into the most interesting part is get into special special proprietary knowledge of the business, let business own their own intelligence, and that will push the next frontier. And that work just started because um, the base model where business can build their specialized intelligence on, the quality has a passed the threshold, and therefore making that flying wheel much easier, more accessible, much better result, and so on. And before we have been pushing on that, but the quality difference is too big. So I believe with now with a lot of interest from American companies trying to build really, really good open model, the American gap between closed and model open will close. While like we also have other choices of open model across different regions, I think the open community, open ecosystem will have way more diversified kind of contribution, and that make me so much excited.
It does seem like there's been a lot of innovation recently in making the models run more efficiently and faster. I feel like a lot of these newer models are kind of designed to run well, and related to that, an amazing thing that's happening in our space is when a new model comes out, it's almost immediately supported by fireworks, like same day. It's like unbelievable how fast you guys, get these things working well. Are you in conversation with the model building companies about what they're doing and kind of getting early previews and testing them on your infrastructure before the actual release date?
Yeah, so it really depends on situation by situation. Sometimes we have early access, sometimes we don't. And regardless, I think the day we launch. So by the way, you're right. We're very proud of day zero launch. We almost kind of have a reputation. Fun fact: I think early days of Mistral, they didn't launch the model. They just toss out the weights. There's no model code, and we reverse engineer the model code from their previous launches and launch before they launched the API. It was a fun exercise. But we care about quality more than day zero launch. When DeepSeek V4 launched, we hold back the launch from our side by 3 days, and that 3 days we didn't sleep at all. The reason is the release on the weights we got and the corresponding code we got has a lot of bugs, and it doesn't pass. We have a lot of internal evals and it doesn't pass our threshold. And then we work closely with, we actually work with VLM and SGLAN, the open source community, to fix those bugs. We fix those bugs and contribute back. So they also can fix those bugs with their community. So that took us 3 days, and we launched 3 days later. But we cannot deploy a model where we know there is a non-issue, and that trumps everything.
Why is it so important to you to launch so quickly when a new model comes out? I mean, you talk about specialized intelligence. Nobody's going to be able to take the model and specialize it's their application on day zero. So why the rush? Why are you telling people to not sleep for 3 days to get something out?
So this is an interesting time because of velocity of AI development is so fast. Our customer always want to get in touch with the latest, and there's no time to wait. So that's kind of the because they are going to make a decision. Are they already tuned the model, and are they going to change the backbone of the model? It's a big decision. And because the model release cycle is so fast, they're very close to each other, and they need to be informed quickly. And today, no one really trusts public benchmark anymore. The judgment is really coming from being able to test through their own internal eval and make those calls. Because if they decide, oh, this actually is a really good base, and they want to tune, they need to act quickly. Because if they don't move quickly, and the next model will come up. So it's just the pace of AIs in the whole entire industry is so fast.
I mean, that leads me to another question about kind of the shelf life of these models is so low, right? People always switch to the next great model. And you have this business that's scaling amazingly well, but the metrics are so public for everyone to see. You can see the cost and the performance, and there's not much else. Like, what is your long-term moat for fireworks?
So many people ask me, what is fireworks, first of all? And then we can talk about moat based on that. They ask me if fireworks is an inference company, or if fireworks is a neo cloud, or fireworks is a PyTorch cloud, and all these fireworks. So we are none of this. So we're a specialized intelligence platform, as in we have built a training platform, the inference platform, co-optimized, co-designed, with the goal of maximize quality. So we're very obsessed with quality. But after we reach quality, then we will
When you say quality, what do you mean? Is that the quality of the result?
quality of result, yes. And after quality is good, then this model will be in the play, right? If the quality, I haven't seen people sacrifice quality significantly for a much cheaper price. Almost like if you don't care about quality when you build product, then I'm not sure like this is gonna help you. So then after that, we customize our inference deployment for the specific application, for speed and cost. So okay, let's go to quality, right? We are obsessed, as in we go actual miles to get quality. For example, between training and inference, when there's a transition, there could be a loss of precision because of numerics difference, different libraries you use, and align numerics is a very hard challenge. So we reach zero KLD across training inference. As in
Zero
that-
what? Sorry.
Zero KLD.
What is KRD?
KLD is a metrics of the precision. So what it means is we reach bitwise equivalent. So the result running from the training side, the result from inference side is bitwise equivalent. And why that matters is after you train, you need to deploy, right? So you don't want to lose precision there. Or for RL actually is a combination of trainer and RL inference, that's inference. And they're constantly going back and forth in a lot of things. And then if the numerics are not, has small error, and then start to amplify. So this is a very hard to achieve. And we just spend all the R&D to kind of achieve that. And second is almost like a principle we operate is we want to make our platform, its tool, accessible by all sorts of companies. And very few companies can afford 10,000 GPU, fully interconnected. There's just not many of those. And not even many of those available if you want to spend the money. So we implement a very aggressively tiered, disaggregated implementation where we can basically pull together scattered GPU across all regions globally to do a training run up to tens of thousands of GPU in one run. So this requires a lot of innovation, and the innovation is not kind of make it work. The innovation is make it work without losing quality, because the more synchronization you have across different clusters, the more possibility there's errors, and then you just spend the money, but the result is not there. Those are examples where we really obsess about quality. But after quality, we continue to obsess about speed optimization, cost optimization.
So you don't want to be just in the game of competing with other inference providers on price and speed?
So we will compete. We will absolutely compete. But I think the unique part again goes back to every company exists for a reason. And the reason for us to exist is we are squarely focused on one size fits one. We squarely focus on customization. From our belief, every single company is special, and we want to deliver the special intelligence for them, and that reflect in special quality, special cost, and and speed. And that's we'll do whatever to kind of optimize for that, and that's where we build our platform for.
So it sounds like you are committing back to open source libraries like SGLang and VLM, but as far as I know, the core of what you do is closed source, isn't it?
Yes, we both our training and inference engine are proprietary.
So I could imagine, you're here telling me, hey, OpenAI should open up their models. I could imagine talking to someone at OpenAI and they say, hey, Lin should open source her runtime and training environments. How would you respond to that?
Yeah. So first of all, why we do proprietary, right? So, um, we built the engine before VLM SGLang. So they don't exist. But also we need a special design because again goes back to the roots. We want to customize to the extreme. By deliver extreme quality, speed, and cost. That requires we design the engine in a special way, and we want to maximize the choice we can make to extract the most amount of optimized result. And that requires us to design the engine in a very modular way. So each module, and the modules are, they can interact with each other, fully compatible in terms of the interaction interface. And then each module will have a few choices, and we can compound those choices and and then it becomes a search problem. So for inference engine by itself, we create a search space of more than 100,000 options. And then based on the customer requirements, remember every company is unique, their workload is unique, their trained model and result is unique. Then we search across those options and find one that's best for them. So because of this unique design, it's hard to manage other engines to deliver the result we want to deliver. That's why we build the proprietary. And we do work very closely. Again, the DeepSeek case, we do work closely with the open source community. We do work closely with NVIDIA. We give them a lot of feedback, as in we also work with MD to give them feedback, what kind of kernel we need. And whatever feedback we give to them is going back to open source. So we feel like this is the most efficient way to engage, because we also want to have the velocity of moving forward really, really fast. And that's strike the best balance.
So are you saying that you don't want to open source because you don't want to deal with outside contributions, or you want to protect your IP, or what is it?
We don't think it will be productive because I've done open source before, right? Multiple
Of
rounds.
course.
It is a lot of it requires a lot of people to engage and build a community, and we have done that before. And if I have time, like for example, PyTorch, it took us 7 years to really be kind of broad. And now it doesn't seem like everything is moving so fast, and the velocity of we changing things is extremely fast. And when you change things a lot faster and you open source, and people get confused, where do they contribute? And then if their contribution is not being incorporated in time, and they will not be happy. So I don't think we actually discussed that internally about open source our engine.
Do you think, you now have lots of resources, like surely you could hire people to manage community. Would you ever open source the Fireworks engine?
So guess how many people we have?
100?
More than that. We do have more than that. We have more. We have 100 engineers and product people, tech. So total we have 200 people. So it's actually a very small team. The people working on the engine part is around 10 people.
I guess it's just you seem so passionate about open source, and you're saying, oh, everything should be open source. Like open source always wins. It's kind of just interesting that you're not excited about open sourcing the core thing that you're building.
I would say I will work on things if we add tremendous amount of value. We already have great open source project, the VLM SGLang, even including TLM. It's great. I'd rather support them to go really big than I build another open source project to compete with them. So I feel like this is kind of the part of open source is there's no ego. If there's a leader in the open source world, then we will support the leader.
If there's a leader, would you switch to using it?
Oh, we are open-minded. We're open-minded. Yeah. Again, we are very practical. If it helps us to get extra miles of optimization, we're open-minded to use any tools.
Do you have a feeling right now between VLM, TensorRT, and SGLang, which is the the leader? Is there one that you favor?
I think they have unique strength.
Oh man,
They have unique strength.
come on.
And I admire the effort. I know it's very hard to build an open source project. I admire they kind of keep focusing there. Although each of them are starting to build companies, I think that's great for them to kind of have real entities to see into the future. But I think they're doing the right thing for the community.
Do you use strategies like Andrej Karpathy's research, where an LLM kind of iteratively tries new sets of parameters and decides what to try next?
Yeah, to build kernels and so
Yeah.
on. So I mean, it's not surprising we're doing that too, but it's not easy. I don't think it's gonna replace performance engineer anytime soon. The thing is, we haven't find the model can do things we already know how to solve, and the discovery part of finding new ways to write kernel, we haven't seen that. We will try it all different kind of way. We haven't seen that happening yet. Maybe it really depends on the base model quality. Maybe there's another leap into much deeper thinking when model goes hit like 10 trillion parameter. It may be possible.
Okay, well, switching gears a little bit.
Switching gears is scary.
You should be scared. No. Actually, I wanted to say I've always admired your style as a founder and related to it a little bit in that you have kind of a quiet confidence, but I think unlike a lot of Silicon Valley founders, you're not really out there kind of beating your chest about, hey, I'm so great. I remember when I was running my company, I sometimes got criticized by my board saying, hey, you should be out there more, you should be like more aggressive. Do you ever feel like you should change your style or be a more aggressive founder, be maybe more like some other company leaders?
I think about that every day.
Interesting.
But I cannot change who I am, right? I think the way to present myself, I need to feel I'm authentic.
Totally.
I cannot be anyone else. I cannot be anyone else as a CEO. I cannot be anyone else as I speak for the company. I cannot be anyone else as I even speak about my personal opinion just for the sake of getting a following. So I think that's part I'm trying to learn. Where's the balance? But be able to talk about company is absolutely important. So on that front, I agree with you. That's a part I've been working on for a long time.
Well, I don't know if you're really agreeing with me. I'm saying I like your authentic style, and I'm not sure I want you to change from where I sit. I'm just curious.
But
how you think about that.
my point is like there's a lot more aggressive style of marketing, and I'm not sure I agree with those. But not like people doesn't know where we're building, who we are is not okay with me also. Yeah.
I mean, I guess you're suddenly running this incredibly important company in the AI space. How has that experience been? Do you feel overwhelmed? Do you feel excited? What's it like?
I feel I'm living my dream because it's a lot of work. Obviously, kind of everyone working in AI, there's kind of it's very intense. It's fast paced. Things constantly changing. Market is very dynamic. But I really enjoying solving all kind of problems across the board. It's not just technical problem. It's not just a product problem. It's always kind of intersection of product go to market, procurement, finance. It's kind of multi-dimensional. That makes me super excited. And we never lack of those problems to solve. Every day there's a new problem pop up and I need to jump in. So our style is we are very flat. There's no deep hierarchy, and I don't like deep hierarchy because I want to make sure like people all have similar kind of context and be able to make decision, but also don't want to carve out the boundaries. Hey, here's a box, you fit there, here's a box, you fit there, and we stack the box, and then we build organization that it's not the kind of, it doesn't fit into the velocity needed for by AI. And because of that, I got to work deeply with all sorts of teams. That makes me very, very excited and energetic every day. But at the same time, it's very humbling. It's very humbling to see there's so many entrepreneurs, fearless. It doesn't matter whether they have experience or not. They just go in to implement their ideas and figure out a way to get to the market. The creativity is off the chart, and we are doing our best. But I've seen so many other peer entrepreneurs doing their best, and it's a very inspiring environment. And we'll keep heads down and deliver the best for them because most of them are our customers.
What's been the most surprising thing about actually being in charge of the whole company?
I think Eric asked me when I first raised my Series A. He asked me one question: what would you do differently now you're a founder compared with a public company execs? I guess what's my answer? Go ahead.
What would your answer be? Well, now that I'm part of a public company,
Yes.
one thing I wish we could do is share all the metrics with all the employees. I feel it's a big bummer to not be able to give all employees access to all the relevant metrics. Like I just feel like I want all the people to know like what the score is and what True North looks like. But there's a lot more controls around that inside of CoreWeave. But surely that wasn't your answer. What was your answer?
My answer is I don't know.
I love it. That's a great answer. See? Oh man, that's so good.
I haven't done a company before, so
Nice.
so I don't know. Obviously, the subtext of his question is, there's not much success of a established public company exec to like start a company. Why you are able to build a company? So I'm lucky. I started a company with 6 other co-founders, and they are all top-notch, world-class engineers and technologists. And they are the foundation for us to build this company together. And I'm more on the kind of the business side, and they're on kind of product technical side. And
That's so funny. I think your view is so technical, but you're like the most business oriented person of your.
oh, I'm the dumbest among them. I'm the dumbest.
Wow.
And a character of this group is the deep intellectual honesty. The one thing we do a lot, I don't know if this is weird or not, we do a lot of pre-modern. And it's pre-modern is how we're gonna die.
Totally.
And then we got used to it. When other people join the company, you join the company, and we bring them along with us to do pre-modern, they're like, that's scary. And how can you discuss that and go back to that and continue working as if nothing happened?
Totally, yeah.
But we're very candid and transparent, and we want to make the best decision for the company and also see through the strategy. But a lot of time, I think the biggest, you asked me that what's the biggest surprise starting this company is there's no data, not sufficient amount of data to make like informed, like data-driven decisions early, especially early on. You talk about metrics. At Facebook, Meta, the abundance of data. You can go to the like granularity of 0.1% of the lift and trying to work out. It's a massive impact. Also, you have all data to kind of make a judgment which path is the right path. But in a startup, a lot of time there's no data because we travel and pave the path. No one have traveled. If everyone's traveling that path, then you shouldn't build that company. So a lot of decisions got calls and intuition, but we have to validate. So the feedback loop of validating is important. So it's okay to say this doesn't work out, and we need to shut it down. But it's not okay to not make a decision because of lack of data. not making decision is a bad decision. So we never want to be analysis paralysis, and that's why we do a lot of kind of this simulation, and try to kind of make the best calls, and then keep adjusting. Any feedback? Like I'm starting to do the more like to your point. I feel like one thing I regret is I didn't do marketing early enough, because hey, we're a bunch of engineers. Engineer has this cynical view of marketing, and based on our past history, we believe product will speak for itself. But this market is so noisy, insanely noise, and people cannot differentiate signal or noise from signal. So I'm trying to do a little bit more. So give me feedback. Like what's your like thinking there?
On marketing, I don't know, Lynn. I mean, you're like phenomenally successful. Like I do think.
No,
I think
mean,
that if you market without the product to back it up, that can be bad too. I feel like
there's
you have.
so many companies doing that, right?
I know, but I think it's actually bad. Like I feel like Fireworks has a great reputation, and your customers speak for themselves. Like I think I really like your authentic style.
We're a similar style. I
Yeah,
feel.
they got a similar style. I mean, I think you should find. I think you know the space better than any marketer could. So I think if you do marketing and build out a marketing team, I just think like really trust yourself and keep it as authentic as you are. Like the things I've regretted in marketing has been when I've let kind of someone come in who's like in some cases like for like a technical thing, you want the expert in the technical thing. Like you wouldn't want to hire a CISO that didn't know more about security than you. But I think like marketing is such a core expression of what the company does that don't let a marketer convince you that something you feel uncomfortable about is actually going to be good. Like a lot of times marketers come in, they say, oh, this is like enterprise marketing and enterprises want to hear this. And in my experience, that's like always bullshit. Like I think enterprises want to feel like they're dealing with an authentic company. They want to be spoken to in an authentic way. Like at the end of the day, there's like human beings behind that. And you understand your customer. So I think, marketing can help get the message out, but if I were you, I wouldn't let a marketing person come in and tell you what the message should be. Like, it seems like you feel really good about specialized intelligence. That feels authentic to you. Like I would lean on that and just keep it authentic. Because honestly, from the outside, it looks to me like it's working.
Okay.
So that.
Anything we can do better?
What's that?
Anything we can do better there?
I don't know. I mean, I feel like you actually have a pretty clear message. I mean, I guess I think of you as an inference company. So you're kind of fighting.
Where's the button?
Yeah, you're still kind of like fighting a simple narrative. So I think you're just going to have to keep saying it over and over, And I think your website doesn't
reflect that.
reflect the messaging that you're saying. So that, it just like, you can't deliver a very nuanced message ever
Yes.
to people. So
Yeah.
like, you just need to be like specialized intelligence. That's what we are.
Yeah.
Here's what
Keep
it is, like
banging
one
on that.
sentence. Just bang on, the two words, and you're just not going to be able to deliver much nuance broadly. But like, you built like the industry leading company in your space. It's awesome. Like, I don't know.
I'm
should
always
be learning from you.
No, I'm always paranoid. I'm
Yeah,
always
totally.
paranoid.
Totally.
Yeah, because the market is so dynamic.
Yeah, I know. I mean, that seems crazy. Like it's so dynamic. I mean, yeah, it seems like it'd be stressful
Yeah.
to be in your seat.
But at the same time, it's good to have a team. So yeah.
Awesome.
So we're building on the team.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much. This is a great interview. I really appreciate your time.
Oh, thanks.
Thanks so much for listening to this episode of Gradient Descent. Please stay tuned for future episodes.